Who's the group leader over here?
Why don't put it? You said no. You said.
Well, who wants to be the group leader? Usually it's Skyler. Does anyone else want to do it?
I was the last time. I was the leader last time. So
All right, guys. Figure out who the group leader is. I'll be back here in a minute. So somebody has to be the group leader to kind of like. Don't be afraid to step up and be a group leader. All right, who's the group leader here? All right, so is our track done? All right, tracks out. What's our next? Okay. What's the next step? Okay, so who's writing your data down on the spreadsheet? Okay, so you got your masses already? So are the masses going to change at all? Okay, so the very first one, do we start with the mass on there?
Okay, when we restart.
How are we going to know what to do? Yeah, you're going to have to read the instructions and make sure you know what to do. So the group leader, everyone has a copy of it on your computer. So if you have your computer up and you're not recording data or you're not doing a smart view, you need to be reading instructions to make sure your phone went down. But you're doing two cases first. What's the two cases? Well, the first one's going to be an explosion, and you're going to do two cases for the explosion. What's the two cases for the explosion? Yeah, one is going to be empty, and then the second one's going to be what? With a mass on one of the cars to see what happens. And you're going to do two trials. You're going to do it twice with no mass, and then you're going to do it twice with one of these on one of the cars. Okay. So go ahead and start working. I'll come back. You guys kind of got an idea on the explosion. Go ahead and work on that. You guys feel like you know what's going on yet?
yeah.
All right, who was the group leader here? Oh, so you just set it up to be the group leader this time? Okay, so what are we doing, group leader?
Calculating the velocity for.
Okay, so in the very first experiment, you're doing two cases. What are the two cases?
One without the wheel. Without the wheel.
So you're going to do it twice with no mass, and then you're going to do it twice with a mass on one of the cars. And all you're going to collect is the data. Now, go ahead and start performing your experiments, and you have trouble figuring out what the velocity is. I'll come back and double check on you. All right. Who's the group leader over here? This one. All right. So I think your group does not have a magnet here. So like that one, that's a magnet there. This is the only one that doesn't have a magnet. So make sure it doesn't just crash into there and break. Okay. So group leader, what do you understand what's going on in the experiment? What are we doing in the first one?
We're simulating the explosion.
Okay, we're doing an explosion, and you're going to do two cases. What's the two cases? Okay. Well, one of the ways that you can figure out what you're doing is by reading the instructions. Everyone has a set of instructions on their computer. So if you don't have your computer open right now, that's fine. But if you have your computer open and you're not doing the data or the Spark view, you should probably be reading the instructions or reading through this. Okay. So it will tell you the exact situation you're doing. I'll come back and check on you. I want you to be able to figure out what two cases you're doing just for the first one for the explosion. Okay. So you're doing two cases. The first one is going to be empty. There's not going to be any extra mass. You're going to do it twice. What information are you collecting with this? The velocity of each car twice. And then you're going to do it twice with that. Where's that mass on? Okay. On one of the cars. And you're just going to see what the mass is before. Well, you know what the mass is, the velocity is before. What's the velocity before? Yeah, 0. So all we're going to do is get the velocity after. So you're going to do it twice for no mass, and then twice and collect the velocity. I'll come by and check it to make sure that you know how to read your velocity. How's this group doing? Who's the group leader here? Justin?
Yep.
Do we know what's going on?
Yes.
Does everyone in the group know what's going on?
I do.
Okay, well, what are we doing on the first scenario? Okay.
No additional mass.
No additional mass, you're gonna do it twice. Who's recording the data? And you got, well, who's recording it? You're gonna get the data, who's recording it onto the spreadsheet?
Oh, I mean, I have the spreadsheet.
Oh, you're doing the spreadsheet? Okay, so he's gonna get the spreadsheet. So the first one, you're gonna do it twice with no mass and get the velocity. The second case is what?
Yeah, one mass.
This mass on one card, and you're gonna get the velocity twice out, okay? All right, go ahead and get started on that. If you have trouble getting the velocity, I'll be around to check. Let me make sure that this group is okay. All right. Ooh, I like the way you leveled it up, huh?
Thank you. Okay. It took some creative thinking.
Really
Some really creative thinking.
It looks good. All right. Who's doing the data recording?
Like on the app?
No, on the spreadsheet. So you're gonna do the app.
Okay.
Somebody has to record the data on the spreadsheet.
Who knows how to run a mean spreadsheet?
No, it's the other one. It's the
Yeah, you want to do
It's the second one.
the second one. So on this very first one, what are we doing?
Explosion.
You're gonna do an explosion, and you're doing two cases. Do we know what two cases we're doing here?
No.
Okay, how can we know what two cases we're doing? Okay, who is the leader? All right, so guess what? If your computer's open, guess what it should be on right now? The instructions, so that we can read it and make sure we're following along.
Did you show us
Unless you're doing your data. Go ahead.
did you ever show us how to put the calculations in?
I'll show you that after we get all of the data collected. I'll show you how to build a formula in your spreadsheet.
Okay.
So right now, all you're going to concern yourself with is getting the mass. How do you get the mass right here? You just read it. It's on the bottom of the card. How are we going to get the velocity here?
What's the mass?
0.2731. Oh, 0.2739 kilograms. Yeah, and this one's 0.0. So our red one is our number one part. And we do our number two part. Yeah, I think that's important.
So when you're doing your explosion, the way you're going to get it to explode is that's going to be in, and they're going to be sitting together. And then you're going to take a pencil, and that's just going to push, and it's going to push them up.
Both of them are just one.
Just one of them. And you can put.
This one's not going all the way in.
I think this one's a little. So they're a little. Some of them's a little messed up. So I don't have the magnet here. So you want to make sure you catch it, and the way you make the explosion is you just push that. So, obviously you don't want to do that. And before you do the explosion, you want to push record on your thing.
Okay.
So, what's the first case?
It's
We don't have to lift this up a little better.
no additional mass is the first case.
So the first case is you're doing 2 times with no mass, and you're going to get the velocity right here. How am I going to get the velocity? We're going to read it off to what? Off your SparkView app. You're going to do it a second case. What's the second case?
You add the mass.
You're going to put the mass on one of them. I don't know which one you want to put it on. It could be on the red or the blue. It doesn't matter. All right. You just want it on the same one both times. Do you guys feel like you got a handle on what you're supposed to do? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to go check this group, make sure they're collecting. Go ahead. I will be back to check and make sure that you guys are following along with velocity, figuring out how to get the velocity from your graphs. Okay? Okay, give me 1 second. Let me go back over here and make sure they're. I'm gonna go around in a circle. So, if you want to look here, turn your card, turn your smart beam over here to them.
So the velocity
How come you got both of them?
for the blue. And what was the red starting point?
One should be red and one should be
Also be 0?
So like, let's see what we're connected to.
Can you do it again?
Yeah, that's what I'm
So you're connected to two blue ones.
No, it was red whenever I clicked on it.
So,
473161. That's that one.
okay, so this one is red. I wonder why it's showing blue on this.
Alright, click on it, it was red.
And then for blue, it was 0.2%.
All right. I wonder why it's showing blue.
You made a bit.
I don't want to disconnect it.
Lost fair and square.
There we go. Now it's showing red. Then it shows back up blue. I don't know why it does that. I don't know what's going on.
Alright, we're gonna put the weight in the blue part.
Is that hindering you from collecting the red and the blue? Are we still connected?
So for the red starting velocity was like 0.35.
For red.
Okay, so we're connected now. Let's see if it works now.
0.35.
So, go ahead and start it together.
That was the best one.
Yeah, but what you want to use is not your finger.
No, he's the best one.
You want to use like a pencil or something to barely
Velocity
push that
after
button.
red,
So go ahead and push start.
-1.
And someone push the button.
And for blue, -1.
All right, so if you want to come over and take a look at this graph, show it to everybody. Let's see, where do I figure out what the velocity is before the collision on this graph? Yeah, so this is always the velocity before the collision. So what is the velocity directly after the collision? At the highest point where it's kind of level. What happens when it hits this last part? What did it do? Yeah, so let me get a pencil. So when it hits this point right here, that means it hit the wall and came back. So what velocity are we specifically interested in? Those two highest points right there. And that's your velocity. How do I get that velocity? Yeah, you're going to click and read it, okay? So go ahead and tell me what you think the velocity is right after the collision.
What I think, or you want to calculate it?
You don't calculate it, you just read it through here. So definitely be 0.5 and
Yeah?
does it?
28.1.
So what is the velocity right there? 0.0885 for the blue card. What's the velocity for the red card?
No!
Assume it'd be the same.
Well, it's negative. Why is it negative? Because it's going in the opposite direction. That's right. So it's what?
Negative 0.8.
Negative 0.835. Okay. So now you're going to do it again.
Didn't do it on purpose.
One more time and collect the data, and then you're going to do it again with the what? The mass on there. Okay. Let me check you guys out. Okay, here's what you see how sensitive it is.
I'm barely touching it.
Here's what you need to do. You don't want to use it with the finger. You want to use like a pencil or something. So you want to have as little effect on it as possible. Okay. So wait. He didn't push start yet.
Negative 0.8.
All right.